Hi, I'm Mark Mazzaferro, and it's time for another episode of What's the Plan? And with us, as always, on What's the Plan is the planning director for the city of Vacaville, community development director. What do you prefer, anyway?
Community development director.
Okay, that's your official title. Anyway.
It is.
Bart Brierley. Okay, it's Barton, but we're trying Bart on for size today. Barton, how are you today?
I'm good. Good to be here, Mark.
Do you know what today is?
It's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Do you believe in that? Do you have triskaidekaphobia?
Well, I don't have triskaidekaphobia,
Okay.
but I think you need the 13th to fill in between the 12th and the 14th.
You cannot get to the 14th without the 13th.
Yes.
So there are actual, and this might be a community development / planning question. There are hotels that do not have 13th floors.
There is. I know. There's one in
just-
downtown Salt Lake that goes from the 12th to the 15th.
They just skip it. They
Yeah.
just 12, 14.
Yes.
I mean, that's okay, I guess. Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, you can name whatever floor you want. You can call them Charles, Fred, Tom if you wanted to,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and like even addressing houses in town, nobody wants to be like 666.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
some-
right.
Some things
Listen,
like that.
my cell phone, my personal cell phone has 666 in it, right? But there's 4 6s. So whenever they ask my cell phone number, it goes 38, and it's like they always pause. They go, "There's a lot of 6s." It goes 4 of them. Okay, so everybody relax, And then whatever. I probably anyway. We went way off the subject, didn't we? That's okay, Bart. My bad. I'm still not used to Bart. We'll get there. So let's talk about what's going on in planning. You've got so much. This is how we started the show. You got a lot going on down there, don't you?
We do. It's very busy.
And this summer is no exception. Your agendas. If you're looking, look at our website. Certainly look at Barton's part of the website. He keeps everybody up to date on what's going before the planning commission, what's happened, the action they took. So you really want to know what's coming in our town. Check out his part of the website because they do a good job maintaining it. But still, we get questions, and that's why we're here today. We're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, the East Main District.
Yes.
All the rumors. Oh, that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's happening, isn't it?
It's happening. We've got plans in right now that we're reviewing for it. So
And how do they look? Look good?
they look really good. It's very exciting. So what the East Main District is. It's a mixed-use project on the east end of downtown, and it's a true mixed use. So you got ground floor retail, you got apartments upstairs, and housing behind the retail and the mixed-use buildings. So it's a very exciting project.
So there is retail, and do you know what's going in all those retail spaces?
I think it's pretty much about filled up. We've got a restaurant that wants to go in there, an ice cream shop, and a tap room that's going to go in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, tap room. Ice cream shop. Huh? Can you tell us who it is yet? Or
No,
top
but I
secret?
can say it's Vacaville recipes for homemade ice cream.
Okay, all right.
Pretty exciting.
So they're in plan review. What comes next?
Well, we've got to go to the Planning Commission and City Council to get the official approval of the plans. And then it's, building permits. So we're shooting for a groundbreaking ceremony later this fall there. And construction begins.
I hate to name drop, but I was at the Pure Grain Cafe the other day, and Richard Rico came up to me. You know Richard.
I do.
Richard and I
Yes.
were. Anyway, he starts asking me about the East Main project, right? When are they doing the groundbreaking, and are they going to build all the parcels at once? And what? And I'm like, but I kind of filled him in on what I knew, but apparently we're going to start all 3. When they do start, it's going to be all 3 buildings at once, or is it?
Well, all the projects are coming in for approval at the same time. They won't all, be built exactly the same time, but they are all getting approved, and there's no reason why construction can't happen all together.
Okay, good. I know everybody's talking about groundbreaking in September, October, somewhere around there, and then, but the real building isn't going to start until the spring, probably, huh?
Well, it's still up to
The developer and
it's
what
still
his
up to the
time.
developer.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we want to get things going.
Yeah, the sooner the better, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. And this next topic kind of dovetails nicely with this project, I guess, in terms of mixed-use zoning. That's something
Yes.
we're really moving forward on, aren't we?
We are. The Planning Commission has actually recommended a mixed-use zoning ordinance. So what mixed use is traditionally you've got your residential neighborhoods and you've got your commercial neighborhoods. And so if you want to go anywhere, you have to get in your car and drive to the commercial area. Well, traditionally cities were built as mixed use, where you had commercial and residential together. So in our general plan, there's actually a few places that are planned for mixed use, where you would have, like on the East Main District, ground floor retail, upstairs residential, or the buildings on the same side. So, so that's we're developing a zoning ordinance that actually address that. So these areas can actually be zoned mixed use, and it's a little challenging because it's not the traditional. Oh, you can only do houses here, you can only do businesses there. We got to do a zoning ordinance that allows both.
But we've talked about this before. That's how cities used to be built, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Certainly more urban settings. Stores on the bottom. In many cases, you lived above your own store or restaurant or whatever it might be.
Right, and you look at any city. I mean, part of a city that's over about 120 years old, that's the way it was built.
Right.
Downtown Vacaville was built that way.
You don't have to look far.
Yeah.
Main Street, right?
Right.
So, all right. So all this is going before the council, and any idea, like where these sites would be in town that you can share with us?
Yeah, there's actually 6 sites designated in the general plan for mixed use. Example would the old CVS site downtown. We've got a lot of interest in that being designated for mixed use. There's one on Alamo Drive next to Lucky's. There's the 99-cent store on Peabody. Those are all areas that are designated in the general plan for mixed use.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So then we have some potential spots out there that could be developed for mixed use,
Yes.
but only after this ordinance gets passed.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what we're working on. We're getting interest. We need to make our zoning match the interest, and there are places where it can happen.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Now let's talk about everybody's favorite project, the Farmstead development.
Yes.
So if you look at a map of the city, or at least the zoning map, right? There's always a little square that's like cut out that doesn't belong in the city.
Yes.
That's Farmstead, isn't it?
Yes, that is.
And it's not part of this. How does that happen? How do you end up having a what is it, like, how many acres is it? 30?
It's about 30 acres.
30
yeah.
acres. How do you end up with 30 acres almost, in the middle of a rather large area of our city that's not part of our city?
Well, in that area, it was just, that area was all orchards. And one farmer wanted to develop, and so he annexed the property to the city, and then this farmer wanted to develop and annex it to the city, and this one did, and this one did, and it just happened that it went all the way around this one property, and then it's outside the city, and the rest is in.
Isn't that like the movie Up? Isn't that what happens in Up?
Yeah, it's kind of what
Where he's surrounded by skyscrapers,
Yeah.
and here's his house.
Yeah.
Same idea? Sort of.
Well, sort of,
yeah.
except for it's a 30-acre
Yeah,
side
exactly,
in the middle.
exactly.
But there's laws now that try to prevent that from happening. You can't do it now. And in fact, when you do annex it, there's there's the vacant parcel, and there's like 10 parcels that are houses just north of it. So we're going to have to annex all that.
All
area.
that comes, it's all one big lump. You either do all or nothing then.
Yes. Yeah.
It just always is so funny when you look at the general plan map and the zoning map, and there it is, this little square right there, dead center almost in that whole neighborhood. But it's owned by a family, right?
Yes.
And they're at a point where they want to develop their property, right?
Yes.
And it's just sat there empty. There's nothing on there right now, correct?
Well, there's a house, and it used to be orchard, but yeah, it's
But for all intents and purposes, it's vacant.
yes.
So they bring this to us, and what's the plan look like right now?
Well, they're planning for a residential development with about 130 single-family residential lots on it, and 3-acre park on one side of it, and trails and streets to serve it.
So where are we in the process at this point?
Well, they've submitted the application. We had a neighborhood meeting a few weeks ago. Got a lot of interest from the neighborhood. A lot of people came and asked questions. And so we're taking the input from that. The developers fine-tuning the application. We're doing the environmental review, and this will go to the Planning Commission hearing in the fall, and then to the City Council after that.
So this is moving forward, but it's not like a slam dunk. It's not guaranteed. I mean, there
No.
could be more changes. Things could change drastically from where they're at right now.
They could. There's a reason why we go through this review process, is to make sure that everything matches our plans. It's good for the neighborhood. It's good for the city. We've addressed all the capacity issues and that. So that's the purpose of this review process.
Right. So people can understand what's going to happen, provide feedback.
Right.
Great. Another topic of great interest, certainly out in the Leisure Town area, is Green Tree. Now,
Yes.
at the council meeting the other night, you gave a very thorough update,
Yes.
and I think it was pretty well received.
I think so, yes.
Certainly by the council and the members of the public who spoke. So, but tell us, give us a quick rundown of what's going on right now. Certainly, there have been some changes from the original direction it was headed to where we're
Yes.
at today.
Yes. So the Green Tree project, that's the Green Tree Golf Course that closed down, and it's privately owned by the Sire family, and they want to propose redeveloping it into a residential, commercial community there. And so, yeah, the council did initiate that process. They did have a designer on board, DPZ, and they've decided to not use that designer, so they're getting a different design. So that's why that's taken some time. They're working on a different design for the project. We've also had to look at some basic questions like where do you get access? Leisure Town Road is Jefferson Parkway. It's a major thoroughfare through the city, and so we've had to be very careful planning of like where traffic signal is going to be along there. And so that's where a lot of our focus has been. But they are still going forward with a plan, and they're adjusting the plan based on a lot of our feedback.
So they haven't officially submitted anything
Right.
yet. They're still just tweaking it and working on what they ultimately will present to the city for consideration.
Yes, yes.
So let's say at the end of the month they came in with some plans, and if everything went according to plan, how long would it take for all of that to actually happen?
Well, the planning process, we have at least a year from now just for the planning process, because you've got to go get the plan reviewed. There's all the environmental studies you have to do. You have to do planning commission, city council. So it's at least a year before you get to the a plan that's approved by city council.
A level of where we're ready to approve something.
Yes.
And even then it takes how many years to build the project? It's not like, okay,
Right.
they bring in 400 homes and then a week later 400 homes are built. It's
Right, because for the property owners, that's really the time that they can go to an actual subdivider and say, here, do you want to purchase the property? Here's all your entitlements. Here's all the plans. And so, yeah, that can often take, another year or so to.
So this is what they're talking about when they say, like, SIR would be the master developer, and then they sub parts of it out to other home builders and developers do other parts of it. Is that, am I right? Am I wrong? Or am I way off?
Yeah, well, SIRE's basically they're the property owner. So I know their intention is to sell it to a master
developer. Okay. And then they move forward with
Yes.
yeah. That's how you get different types of housing projects and different looks and different elements in a community, so to speak, as opposed to I'm building 100 homes and here's what they look like.
Right.
Okay, good. Finally, we have the telecommunications ordinance. This is the one Tyra presented the other night,
Yes.
isn't it? That was pretty good.
Oh, yes. It's kind of a different technology. It's a new concept out there.
Yeah, this is clearly one that we need to get our arms around rather quickly, as opposed to just let all due respect to our telecommunication friends, let them do whatever they want to do. I mean, the examples were startling between where there's some level of regulation and there's no regulation. So why don't you explain what it is we're exactly talking about?
Well, the telecommunication you have for your cell phone, if you pick up your cell phone now, that goes to usually a cell tower. And if you look around town, any city, you see these cell towers, and a lot of them are being disguised as, we call them monopines or monopalms, because it's often disguised
Looks like
as
a tree,
trees,
yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen them, then they're doing their job, but it's often hard to totally disguise them. But that's where your signal goes. That's where your 4G phone signal goes. Well, they're coming up with 5G technology. And one of the things about 5G technology is it doesn't go as far, and so you need more facilities, but you don't need as big of an antenna. So a lot of these 5G facilities actually can go on light poles. They can just be attached to the light pole, and the facility goes there. And so that's what a lot of the wireless companies now are wanting to do, is get permission from cities to put these facilities on the light poles in the cities. And our concern is, just what that's going to look like. Is that going to add visual clutter if you're going to look down the road and see all of these wires and facilities and everything? There are a lot of designs that are really pretty attractive. You don't really notice.
We don't notice them. Which is ideal, I guess. Like I said at the beginning, when Tyra Hayes, one of your planners, did her presentation, she showed an example of a rather nice looking stream. It looked like a light pole, or and that's you really probably wouldn't even look twice at it. Then she showed the other example where there's all these boxes and things hanging off of it and wires coming out of it. It's like, that's ugly.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
Yeah, they're affectionately called Frankenpoles.
Yeah, exactly, and for good reason.
Yes.
And you look at that and you go, well, I thought part of the reason why we undergrounded all the utilities was to avoid that kind of a mess.
Yes. And
now we're coming right back with it with these 5G technology. So so what happens next?
So what we asked the council to do is amend our ordinance so that any carrier who wants to do one in the public right of way has to do an agreement with the city and abide by our design standards. So we would require the good-looking poles and not allow the Frankenpoles. That's what's there. And then there's still a lot of work we need to do on our telecommunication ordinance overall, because it was designed in the 90s and when 2G technology was out there, and there's just a lot of things we need to catch up.
Sure.
But that's the immediate thing. We're working on this, what we call master license agreement requirements. So what the carriers will have to do to locate on our facilities.
So at some point, the telecommunications folks are going to get together and say, hey, this is crazy, us going to every city and trying to cobble a separate agreement. Maybe we should go to the state and get some. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Absolutely.
This happened with cable TV, right? Every cable provider used to have a franchise agreement with the city they operated in. Changed all the rules. Everybody gets a state franchise. In terms of money coming into and out of cities, that really didn't change much. But the process of approving and dealing with complaints, that changed considerably. I mean, do you see that happening? Or?
Absolutely. And that's why we're actually trying to get this adopted and make it a requirement that we have an official agreement with these carriers in order to locate in the public right-of-way. People need to understand that this is a private company wanting to use public facilities to run their business. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
And it's a good service that you provide. I mean, we all have cell phones. We all like that service, and so it's a good thing to have. But cities need to be compensated for the cost of that, because we have to maintain all the facilities, and we've got to control the aesthetics. Otherwise, it just becomes visual clutter. It's
Frankenpole.
Yes.
So, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, when cities talk about having Wi-Fi availability throughout the city, I mean, is this a way to provide that kind of service too, or is it strictly 5G for cell phones and that kind of thing?
Wi-Fi is part of the equation there. There's all sorts of technology. Wi-Fi is kind of regulated differently than these 5G, and so it gets complicated, but that could be part of the equation.
Okay, I mean, when I first started here, Google was offering. I remember they had some kind of competition or contest, or they did some sort of effort to provide a city or two with Wi-Fi. They were going to come install Wi-Fi throughout your city.
Yes.
I don't know who got picked. I don't remember. It wasn't us.
Yeah.
But I guess ideally that would be great for every city. But still, somebody's got to pay for it, and you have to install all the equipment and stuff. So
part of what they're looking at this 5G is actually to help the autonomous driving vehicles. Right. Tie into the 5G facilities to be able to drive cars. So I don't know.
Personally, I think it's just a way for Big Brother to track us even more now. They can ping a light pole and know that I'm standing there, reading my phone, right? No? Okay. Come on, Bart, agree with me. Help me out here.
Well, there are. It is a facility that's out there.
Come on, we work in government. Just say it. Yes, we can track people. Okay, I'm just kidding.
We don't track.
No, we don't.
We don't.
Just one more way.
Yep.
So potentially, but I don't think that's it. Hell, people are so busy looking for Pokemon Go's anyway. Like they're going to notice the black van pulling up, following them down the street. So anything else going on in community development we should talk about?
Well, I think that's what we had for today. I mean, it's
pretty full plate.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the farm at Alamo Creek working on.
Yeah, right.
Still a lot of industrial development happening. We just approved a warehouse out in the industrial areas.
Good deal.
So, lots happening.
Never stops, and that's good news for us, for our residents, and for the community in general, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. All these changes I see as positive.
Absolutely.
It's making Vacaville a better place, providing more services for our residents.
And maybe even more important, Cream is actually doing the tenant improvements on their site out there at the nut tree. I walked by the other day. They were digging up and putting in the drains and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're this much closer to having the ice cream sandwich cookie store opened up in Vacaville.
Yes.
I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I probably could wait, but I don't want to wait. Well, listen, Barton, thank you very much for filling us in on what's happening in your apartment. And thank you all for watching this episode of What's the Plan? We'll see you next time.